I'm here. I made it. It was quite the milk run today to get to Harrington. Greg Schoner picked me up at the airport, and I am sitting here. Went all day and finally got a Starbucks. It's so good. I get up this morning at 4:20 a.m. My flight from Prince Edward Island was 5:45. I went from Prince Edward Island to Toronto, Ontario to Chicago, because, as everybody knows, you can't get to Delaware without going to Chicago first. Oh my God. So I went PEI to Toronto to Chicago, and then down to Philadelphia. Get out at Philadelphia. Greg was there, picked me up, and we are sitting in the parking lot of Harrington Raceway right now. Man, oh man, I was going to do a video earlier, but I didn't want to jinx myself. So I said, we're going to watch the two horses in the Meadows race first. Ty went on, had a good class, except that really, that fast Andover Hall filly was in there again with the inside. Ronnie Wren was driving her, and then Compass Rose DC was racing later on. So we had two horses I wanted to watch first quietly. And we did. Man, oh man, how good is Ty went on. I told everybody, you knew it last week when she went in 56, but it was a maiden last week, and you couldn't tell. You know, she beat up on Garden State Dio, who was short as hell. You don't know how good the other ones were. You know, was it just fast? Who knows? But she beat a legit stake filly today. I think she answered the one question I asked, and it was directed mostly at her, is, are you a Stallion Series filly or are you a stake filly? And if there's any stake fillies around, she definitely belongs in the sire stake side of the Pennsylvania Sires. She was incredibly good today. Left out of this, would you have 6 or 7? 7 hole? Left out of the 7 hole, crossed over to the front, let the favorite, I'm looking right at it. Literally, it couldn't be any closer than right, it literally was right here. Let the favorite remove to the front. He got everything his own way. There were hot fractions, but nobody bothered him. And Ty went on, come on, and beat him at the wire. She showed a lot of guts. It reminded me a lot of her older sister. Actually faster than her older sister, but still reminded me that grit, that desire to do well and get the job done was there today. Ty went on was nothing short of fantastic today. And then we literally just watched Compass Rose DC. She just got up to win, but I had said to Greg, and Greg's he's not a breeder. He's not a, and I don't fancy myself a breeder. Somehow you guys got me involved with brood mares, but Compass Rose DC, here's a mare, and Joel knows because he texts me all the time about her. This is a mare with, now she has, she's closing in 120,000. She'll have 150 probably by the end of the year, I would think. Now, you can't extrapolate, obviously, what you've seen so far. I think she's going to go on a little tear. This is a filly that will likely have 150 made by the end of the year. She now has a mark of 55-3. We'd like to lower that to 154 and a piece. So now you have a filly with a good pedigree, 6 figures on her card, gritty mare with a good mark. And I don't know enough about breeding to say, hey, we would breed this mare to X. I would think keeping Compass Rose DC, breeding her to whatever sire matches perfectly with her, and obviously somebody with more expertise in this regard would be somebody that would know. Get her in full, and Greg said, well, just sell her. Well, you could. I think if you get her in full to a top sire and then sell her the following year, I think you're looking at, or you know, for that matter, buy the Greg Schoners out if they want out and retain the foal. I'm indifferent to it. I'm good either way. You know, we have some brood mares, but those were horses that I thought were gritty, tough horses that I would like to see those traits passed on. We haven't had any top broodmare prospects yet. You know, it's Stolen Dance. Yeah, she's a Muscle Hill, but she didn't do anything, right? Dewey Ann, she got marked 2.7 or 2.8. She didn't do anything but a well-bred mare. And then obviously Muscle Chrome never won a race. A slow animal, decently bred. Again, I wanted to breed her because I liked her grit. I'm always going to stick up for her right to the dying days. I'm going to stick up for the horses that do the best they can. Then you have Canadian Titan, who I think was a fast filly, only hit a mark of what, 57? You know, 57. You know, not a lot of money on her card. And who's the fifth mare? We have 5. The pacer, Capistrano, who, you know, did make some money and won some stake races at 2, took a mark of 53. So there's something there, and there is pedigree there. So, but no, you know, bigger money earners. Compass Rose DC would be the best mare we've, you know, on paper. I get not pedigree paper. I don't want to get into an argument on that. But the best race mare that we would have ever bred to now would be a mare like her. Do we keep her? Do we sell her in full? Do we sell her before she's in full? I would say it would either be sell her in full or keep the full, one or the other. But again, that would be up to our partners on that mare. But that's the trajectory I see Compass Rose DC taking. I think we'll race her right into February 2022, and then we'll breed her, because I just don't think there's a ton after she wins 10 races, which she's going to do, and put some money in her card. There's no dedicated fillies and mares classes outside of Yonkers, which she could race at, but I think she's worth more as a broodmare, I believe. So that's my take on Compass Rose DC. Very happy with her today. Happy for Greg, obviously, an owner on Compass Rose DC, and Taiwan on. Both fillies both fillies were great. Both fillies were great, and started off the day with 2 wins. So that's awesome. A lot more hopefully to come today. We got the colt in Ontario. We got the filly here. We got some other horses racing. So a big day for the stable.
Scioto, you got
Oh yeah, we got the 3 colts in Scioto too. So we got a bunch of stakes still coming today. A lot of races still going on. Now, I did want to circle back to yesterday. I didn't get to do a video. Obviously, I was in PEI. My father's book signing was there. Now, I didn't know what they were going to do with the book signing. You know, I've never been to a book signing, so I just assumed somebody sat at a table, signed books. But they had a whole thing set up at the Charlottetown Driving Park for my father, and a whole thing. And I spoke a couple of times. Obviously, spoke about what racing meant to me, what my wife means to me in the operation that we hold, and obviously a couple of stories along the way from the McDonald family and other interesting stories that may or may not have been in my father's book. But if you have the time, if you're just not doing anything, I don't know. I shared it a couple of times on Facebook, I believe. I thought it was pretty neat. I went back and watched it a couple of times. I thought it was pretty neat. So that's what I was up to. Now, the day, that was on Wednesday. The whole day of Wednesday, I was in Prince Edward Island with my father, my mother. My brother Lloyd was down. So I had one day to spend with my family. The day before, on Tuesday, I get up at 5 o'clock and flew from Cleveland to Chicago to Toronto to PEI. Got in at midnight, so 12 a.m. And you have to do, you'd love this, you have to, before you can exit the Prince Edward Island Airport, you have to have a snap test done. Have to have it done. So I didn't actually leave the airport. I got my brother so good too. Oh, it was so good. I originally had the last seat in the plane. I don't know why. I just like to either sit by myself or sit at the back of the plane. So I texted Lloyd and I'm like, hey, I'm in seat 36A. Why don't you just switch your seat to sit beside me, 36C or whatever. And then it dawned on me they were doing these snap tests. I upgraded my seat. This is how bad I want to play a joke on him. I upgraded my seat to 3F. Cost me like $80 or something. But it was a 3-hour flight to a 2-hour flight. But what that meant was I was getting tested right away. He was the last human being out of all those people on the plane. So my mother and I literally sat in the car for 1 hour waiting for my brother to come out after I was ready to leave. So by upgrading, I also got a dinner, which I didn't eat. It was like chicken or something. But he's at the back, so he got no dinner, right? He might have got a bottle of water or something. So he comes out, and he is livid that he knows that I got out because I upgraded, and he was stuck to the end. Now it's dawning on him what I've done to him. Now he's getting what I've done to him. He opens the back door, he rips it open, he's just about to start cursing. I said, was your chicken dry too? Oh my God. I thought he was going to lose his mind right there in the parking lot of the airport in Charlottetown. It was the best. There's nothing better than playing a good prank on your brothers, and that was perfect. So what wasn't perfect was the day yesterday. So I think yesterday, if you owned all the horses yesterday, you got a very good look at what horse racing can do to you. No, you got it all, right? You got it all, because spend that money, broke her trotting hobbles. I was angry. I couldn't understand it. Jason said she trained so good on Saturday, sent her to the meadows, and she looked like shit. She looked terrible. I sent a message to Tim. I'm like, geez, man, what happened with the filly? He goes, oh, I'm really sorry. You know, we had the hobbles on her. We thought they were good, and she broke them at the quarter pole. He goes, maybe I had them on too tight. I said, you're not going to have to worry about having the hobbles on, spend that money too tight. There's very few horses. She wears them as tight as Spirited Eel. You couldn't have them on tight enough. So what happens is, he said he had brand new hobbles. Sometimes, you put a brand new set of hobbles on, you don't know how well they're made. You don't know how much torque they can take until they've been worked in a little bit, like a baseball glove sometimes. And They blew apart. So she never made a break. Everybody saw her finish way back. She didn't make a break, but she had no hobbles on from the quarter pole to the wire. They broke. So, again, keeping with the theme of the entire industry of horse racing, the industry is what it offers to you was on complete display last night. So you got the broken hobbles, and you're like, oh my God. That's my girl. I had somebody call looking to buy her. But we're going to all watch her race first. Murphy's Law, you know exactly what's going to happen. She's going to race terrible, and that'll be that. So you got to see that happen. You got to see almost the sale of a horse happen and then have it ripped away from you because the horse scoped with mucus. Anybody that watched the race, you knew what happened. That's my girl's done a lot of things, but just flat out raced horrible is not usually one of them. I've seen her make a lot of breaks and squander money, but never just race bad. Scoped her, she scoped sick. Not really that shocking. In the same race, you got to see One My Heart Hanover scoot up the inside and finish third. So again, not too horrible, I guess. It's okay. In and out, you're all right, right? So then you go to the night card. Whew. Timel Houdini wins 56 or 57 at Grand River. Look fantastic. Now you're riding a high. Now you got your win. Right now you're happy. Slim Jimmy's coming up. You're pumped. First, we got to watch Hill of Magic race. She's a 20-1, but just want a good race out of her, right? And then in the last race, you got Grace. So you have a great night coming up. You have a filly who's 2-1 morning line, who's probably going to be even money or thereabouts in a stake race going for 100,000. You have a colt, probably one of the best colts in Ohio, who now we get to see. She's in with the aged horses. He drew the 7-hole. You know he's going to have to take him back. Whatever the hell it was. What's he going to do? You know, you get to see that, and then, you know, just get Hill of Magic around. So yesterday we got to see the very upsetting side of horse racing also. So I'd sent a note out to the owners. If you probably didn't know this, Hill of Magic broke her coffin bone last night at the 3/4 pole. I was a little upset watching the race. I thought Luke Ebersol was driving her aggressively, which was odd because I drove her the week before and she sat quietly. She wasn't aggressive. Jason said she warmed up very, very nice. You know, there was no indications there was anything wrong with her, but a lot of the times when you see the horses, they'll get a little grabby. It's pain sometimes. Now, she didn't show it in the mile. She didn't look lame to me. I've been around horses my whole life. I watched the race. It never dawned on me that this filly had hurt herself. Not even for a second. She made a break. Okay, whatever. You know, it happens. Jason calls me after and said she's lame after the race. Our veterinarian was doing Lasix last night, so he took his x-ray machine down to the barn. X-rayed her. Broken coffin bone. The exact same. Actually, it's funny that it happened. It's not funny, but the exact same injury happened to Timel Houdini in the exact same way. Different foot, but the same degree. A little more serious than. So I guess the easiest way to explain this to everybody is you have the foot, you have the joint of the foot, the coffin joint. That's what it's called, the coffin joint, and you have the main bone in the foot, the coffin bone. Now, much like when I broke my wrist. When the doctor came in, he's looking at the x-rays. He said, Mr. McDonald, the range of motion and what will go on in the future will be dependent on how close to the joint, your wrist joint, that fracture is. And it's much the same with other broken bones. So that coffin bone, there's many different places to break it. Now, if you break it straight up into the coffin joint, that's bad news bears. That's not good. Now, Will to Win Hanover and No Free Lunch. 3 horses this year, and I never had horses with broken coffin bones. I can't blame any one particular place. It happened in Ohio. It happened in Ontario. I can't really... And the other one happened at Tomiko. So you can't really blame any one thing. I don't really know what to tell you. But Will to Win Hanover had a little line at the far edge of her foot. Almost the exact same injury as No Free Lunch. Those injuries require usually 90 days in the stall. So if you have a timeline and you really want to get them back, you can maybe go 60 days in the stall, re-x-ray. If it looks like it's filling in good, then you can put them in the pool if you really want to cheat for a month, which you can do. It's not a big... We didn't do that with Will to Win Hanover. There was no reason to. Just let her mature. I don't have a concern with any of those broken bones. Now, this bone is a more significant fracture, but it is also away from the joint. So it may need more time to heal, but the arthritis is minimal also as it's away from the joint. How did they put it? There's no joint interference. The joint is not, I forget how they put it. Something like that. The doctor I'm talking about with my wrist used a specific term over and over again. It's like your wrist, your joint is not in play. The joint is not, as you said, maybe compromised. The fracture is far away from the joint, which means little to no arthritis, at least in the short term to the midterm with this filly in particular. It's still a broken bone though. So I'm at the book signing. I'm getting ready to go on stage and speak to my father, and I find out that a filly that I'm a partner in, a filly that I thought quite highly of. She let me down her first 2 starts, but that start in Scioto, I was really proud of what she did and how she did it. I really thought she had turned a corner. Now we're going to see the best form of Hill of Magic ever right now, and instead it ended up with a fractured coffin bone. So it will heal. It's not a minor injury, but at the same time, long term, the prognosis is good if you give her the right time. So somewhere, I would say, if it's more serious than Will to Win Hanover's and No Free Lunches, I was told 90 days. I would say it's somewhere between, let's say, 90 days and 180 days. So if they say, hey, it'll be healed up in 6 months, I would say it'll be healed up enough for a horse like her to start going in the pool to do some exercise in that last 60 days. So, but again, keeping with the theme, as I said, looking at what horse racing, the entire industry being encapsulated in one night. You have the elation of winning with Time Houdini and then waiting with bated breath for Slim Jimmy and Grace. You know, you had That's My Heart didn't, or That's My Girl didn't race that good. Won My Heart raced okay. Spend That Money had broken hobbles. You're really getting the full spectrum. And then out in the track comes Slim Jimmy. He looked so good last night. He certainly didn't make up for the broken coffin bone, but I definitely went from ordering 2 beers to sipping on the one that I had. He looked incredible. Just a very, very good horse. And, you know, we talked about it. Very lucky to have a horse. This is a horse that was a throwaway at the sale, both by the breeders and quite frankly, almost me. And then trained down, didn't really shock anyone. He was just a horse. You know, we just thought he'd be an okay fair horse. And then somehow, some way, he found a gear that no one else had and uses it quite easily and quite handily. And really is one of the nicest trotting colts in Ohio. There's no 2 ways about it. I don't care if you own one that you think is the nicest colt. You definitely have your eyes on Slim Jimmy, I can tell you that. So now, only because they're racing for 100,000, the star of the show is about to come on the track, right? Grace is coming on the track. She had sickness the week before. We schooled her. We treated her. We schooled her. Everything, the timeline seemed like it was going to add up. It seemed like we were in the right place. James said she schooled great on Friday. She had been to the veterinarian, scoped her after her schooling trip. Everything looked good. Her blood work looked okay. This is Friday, back Wednesday. You're talking 5 days. Really, you should be able to, the trajectory of her health should be going upward, should be trending good, right? She was sick. We had to give her a week off. We treated her. We gave her time. We schooled her. Everything looked good. Going into the gate, we had that recall. She can get a little hot. I'm like, oh, she got away out of the gate good. I'm like, oh, the other horse made a break, right? The favorite. I'm like, oh my, it's 100,000, right? You know, you start, 2 wheels are spinning, you're going to make 50,000. She explodes in the first turn. Makes a break in the first turn, then another one does, then another one does, then a horse makes a break in front of the grandstand. I'm like, what is going on here? One of our clients that was at Grand River last night had said they dug the track up the day before, or the race before. It's just stupid. You don't dig the track up before 2-year-old trotters going on. It's just dumb. So obviously somebody made a mistake with the tracker. I don't know why they'd have to have it that deep, but nevertheless, James had told me after, she really wasn't that good. He said after she made a break, a couple other horses made a break. He said, Anthony, she could have been 4th. He said she really wasn't that good. Scoped her after. A little bit of mucus, but maybe not as much as you would think needed to be there to compromise this filly, although she is a small filly. I just got her blood work back right before we got to Harrington, and her weight count is elevated quite a bit, so she was sick. So I had texted the vet right before I did this video, and I said, Angelica is who we use right now, and I said, Angelica, listen, here's the blood work. I forwarded to her. I said, I need this fixed now. I said, I know you can't rush sickness. It's going to take as long as it takes. You're going to have to do follow-up blood work in 5 or 6 days to see how you're going. This needs to be rectified, and I need you guys to keep an eye on it right away. So she said she would. Obviously, there's going to be a course of antibiotics. Her iron was low, which really isn't that shocking, all things considered. But you have to be careful with using iron these days. Not a lot of people know this, but there's a cobalt, which is naturally occurring, but it's in iron, you can't give what back in the old days, horsemen used to give iron all the time, right up till race day. You can't do that anymore. And it's probably what happened to another one of our very close friends not that long ago. And you just have to be aware of what's going on. So I said to the veterinarian, I think her race is maybe in 10 days. I got to take a look at her schedule, but you're in charge of fixing her blood. I'll talk to Cindy and Jason about what we're going to do physically moving forward. But again, going back to the theme of yesterday, you got a little taste of everything. You got to be pissed off because your trotting hobbles made a break. You had some racing luck and bad luck with That's My Girl and Won My Heart Hanover. You had just a tragic, gut-wrenching feeling finding out that Hill of Magic fractured her coffin bone. And then that was followed up with, Timo Houdini winning. Slim Jimmy looking impressive and great. You're thinking to yourself, and I was, Jesus, is turning out to be a great night. And then Grace at 8-5 explodes on the front end of the first turn, which it would have been a layup had she stayed trotting, at least if she was healthy, I guess. But you got to see what sickness and lameness and all the things that go into horse racing, what they look like and what kind of role they play in our horses' lives. So, again, starting off today, we always have to turn the page, good or bad. That race is over. That day is over. Hill of Magic will be back next year. These horses will bounce back. And then today, riding pretty high right now with Taiwan looking so fantastic. Compass Rose DC looking great. Oh, there we are. We still have Procrastinator. 20-1's not fair for this colt. He raced better than that last week. Renegade Gypsy's got the outside, but again, this is, of all the horses racing tonight, I'm going to keep an eye on this colt the most because I want to see, we haven't really got to see the best Renegade Gypsy. This is a horse that we put the hobbles on very late in his training, qualified him, raced him with them on. Now we've taken them back off. Mario's going to race him without them tonight. We made shoeing changes from flip-flops to a steel shoe. So some significant changes from Renegade Gypsy tonight. I'm interested to see how they actually play out for him. Luck of the Dragon. Here's a horse that my expectations are low, not because he's bad, but because he's a little slower maturing. But those miles in the fairs were legit good miles, and I'm interested to see what he's going to do tonight. Confederate Cruiser wouldn't shock me if this colt went in 54 or 55 tonight. Coming off a big win for a colt like him, he does got speed, he does got muscle. Brett Miller's driving him. I think this horse got a real good chance tonight. And then I'm driving Jazzy Judy. Full disclosure, I might have put on a couple of pounds in PEI quickly, eating down there. But Jazzy Judy, Greg was just nice enough to tell me my numbers with Jazzy Judy. They're pretty strong. So we'll see how Jazzy Judy does tonight. I'm pumped to race her. Rail with any trotter on a half-mile track is not a place you want to start from all the time. We got some speed outside of her. I don't know what kind of trip we're going to work out, but we're going to play the hand we're dealt, and I say it all the time, and it definitely applies today. And then we welcome later on. I really don't know what to tell you. She got the 10-hole. She's coming in off a couple of real abysmal performances. I'd just like to see her look like an animal, a racehorse tonight. That would be a step forward for me. So, as I said, great game. You guys know it's a real fun, a real great game. We're off to a great start today, but days like yesterday really get to put everything in perspective, both good and bad. So that is my video for the day. I'm not going to give you any more updates unless we have lots to update. Maybe I'll do an update then, but more than likely, just looking to have some good luck tonight. You can't be looking at the winner's circle in the post parade. We're going to try and have some good luck, go out and do the best we can with not just the horse here in Harrington, but everywhere else across the board in North America. So I hope you guys had a great day. If you got a couple of minutes tonight, tune in. You want to know a little bit more about the McDonald family, tune in and watch the broadcast from last night. I found it pretty entertaining. Some stories that I thought of that really cracked me up later on in the night, but it was pretty cool. I think my father did a great job with the book, and if you're ever interested in sports in general and some storytelling over the last 50 years in the east coast of Canada, then by all means, I assume you can get the book on Amazon or somewhere. I don't know. I got one in my bag anyway. So I will talk to you all soon. Take care. Wish us all good luck. I wish you good luck. I'll talk to you soon.